Thank you very much, Carl. I appreciate that. And good afternoon to everyone here. As Carl has said, I have worked here for a long time. And today I'm going to talk about myths or facts. I've been here for many, many years, working in Duncan of Jordanstone College of Art and Design, which is the School of Art and Design in the university. And over the years, every now and again, I'll get a telephone call. And somebody will say, "Hello, I'm looking for a mural." And of course, I think to myself, what are they talking about? Which mural are they meaning? And I start to think through my head frantically, is it Muriel Gray? You know, she's a well-known broadcaster, she's an art critic, she's a director at the Glasgow School of Art. No, it can't be her, surely. Is it Muriel Conway? You know, she used to be a designer with Marks and Spencer's, been in the news a lot recently because she's been very critical of the way Marks and Spencer's design has evolved recently. Or, of course, there was the film Muriel's Wedding. Was it the actress that came out of Muriel's Wedding? No, it can't possibly be one of those. And then it suddenly dawns on me, of course, it's that old Scottish misnomer, isn't it? It's not a mural they're looking for. No, of course, it's a mural. But it's amazing how people get these ideas in their head, and it's quite difficult to change their thoughts about how these things should be pronounced. But one of the misconceptions about art and design schools is that art is about things like painting murals on walls. Art is about so much more than that. And yes, of course, we've got very talented students who could do paintings of murals and walls. They could do graffiti art. We've sometimes been asked for tattooists as well. But of course, that's not what art education is about nowadays. It's much, much broader than that. Students do still work in the area of drawing, sculpture, printmaking, photography, etc. We still have students who do painting, but it's very much from a conceptual basis. You can see that we have students who produce wonderful painting, but students are working across lots of different disciplines. They're exploring the boundaries of their discipline, crossing boundaries with other disciplines, and they're working in lots of types of media. They're working in installation work. They're working in the area of film and video, working in performance art, working in sound performance, all of these types of things. And of course, with the introduction of new digital technology, we've got people who are producing digital installations as well. We also have artists who are using their art to talk to people about some of the social injustices in the world, to challenge people's assumptions about things. So we've got artists who are working as activists, artists who are working with communities, getting communities engaged with what they do, entering into dialogue with them. And we also have artists who are working as hackers as well. But another common misconception is that an art and design school is just about art. It's about paintings and murals or murals. But of course, in Duncan of Jordanstone, more than 2/3 of our students are actually doing design subjects. So they'll be doing things like interior design, textile design, jewellery, animation, graphic design, product design, digital design, etc. So there's a whole range of design disciplines that I think people are really unaware of a lot of the time. And of course, design it pervades everything, doesn't it? I mean, the seats that you're sitting on at the moment, the clothes you're wearing, the way you're interacting with the digital technology in the room at the moment, it's all been designed by somebody. However, lots of misconceptions around this area as well. Textile design is a prime example. Lace doilies, little bits of crochet. Yeah, that's what textile design's about, isn't it? Again, this is something that members of the public, and I would have to say some people in the university, think that textile design is about. But no, textile design is about an awful lot more than that. Students develop concepts of how they're going to develop textile design. They consider their craft, the materials that they're using, and they can use textiles in all types of different ways. Of course, new technology is pervading everything that we do, and we have all sorts of new materials and technologies within the textile area as well. We have new types of inks and dyes, ones that can react to heat, ones that can react to sunlight, they will change colour. They can be used in all sorts of innovative new ways within textile design. We've got lights that can be embedded within textiles, so you can actually do things with textiles, light-emitting textiles. And also, textiles and the new technologies, smart textiles, smart wearables, they can all be used to actually change the way that people engage with the clothes they wear, but also the things in their own homes, the things in their office environment, the way they engage with their health, sport, etc. So lots of different ways, and how people can actually communicate with each other as well. Design is directed towards human beings. To design is to solve human problems by identifying them and executing the best solution. This is something that's really important to us because we do have to think about the humans that we are designing for. We might be designing for things that are non-human, but most of the time we are designing for the human world. And I think, 30, 40 years ago, people were very caught up in just considering the aesthetics of what something looked like, very much involved in the function. Form follows function. But understanding people and how people live in the world is very, very important. What do they actually need? So our students spend a lot of time researching human needs, engaging with real people to find out what the problems are and how they can be resolved. My own discipline, as Carl explained, I come from an architecture background, but for many years I taught in the area of interior design. And how many of you can remember this programme? Yeah, quite a number of people. Dates back to the 1990s, good old changing rooms. Very popular TV series, and of course it was great in some ways because it showed people who didn't have a lot of money what you could do with a small pot of money and various paints and fabrics, etc., to have a quick fix in their own home. But it didn't do our reputation as interior designers a great deal of good because people started to think that that's what interior design was all about. But again, it is about much more than that. It's not just about Lawrence Llewellyn Bowen's, kind of flicking their hair and kind of breezing through life with all these things that you could do a quick fix to. As I said, it's about understanding people. Interior design looks at how people inhabit space, what their needs are, and how interior space can actually have a big impact on people, physically and psychologically and emotionally. If you go back to the 1950s and 60s, say in something like office design, which was an area that I was involved in research in the past, this was seen as a big, innovative new thing. Designing of big open plan offices. Part of it was to do with need because they were needing to cram more and more office workers in, but this was seen as the big solution for the future. Actually, not too different from the call centres that you get nowadays, but perhaps not the best solution to problems. And people have started to realise that actually you do need to understand what people are needing in the work environment. You need to understand the sort of lighting, the heating, the temperature, privacy aspects of when you're working, not being overheard by other people. These can actually have a huge impact on the psychological well-being of people in offices. And there's been a lot of research done in this area that actually workplaces can become more efficient and more productive and therefore better for the company that organises them if they value the staff that work for them and think about how they design the spaces that they inhabit. So here's an example of how design has moved on a huge way in the last few years. You won't find this in every office, but it's an example of how things can be very different when you think about how people need to work, perhaps all working in the same space together, but having their own individual bit of privacy and having all the technology that we now need at our fingertips available for them. Because people work in very different ways today than the way they did even 10 years ago, never mind 50 years ago. The same can be applied to healthcare environments as well, another area that I have been involved in some research in the past, because it's about creating spaces that are going to be comfortable, that the people who are going to occupy them. And within healthcare, people are often in very stressful situations. You know, they're either patients or they're visitors going in to visit people who are in hospital, often because they're ill. And then there's all the staff who work in the hospitals, consultants, nurses, all the orderlies, the various administrative staff, just everybody who works in the hospital and healthcare environments. We need to think about how we design for them. So it's not just wards, but it's thinking about circulation spaces, thinking about staff offices and how they operate as well. The picture up here on the left-hand side, fairly typical of the types of corridors that we find in hospitals nowadays. But with some imagination and design, you can actually create other types of interior space. Now, I know we have a cash-strapped NHS, but you know, if you get people in early enough in the stage who can help and work with people about how you can actually design spaces to make them more uplifting and to actually support the people that are working in these spaces. Our students in interior design do get involved in projects like that. You know, they have worked with people in all sorts of different types of environments. But they also have done projects like this, which is about engaging with real people and engaging with communities. With this particular project, they were doing something for the Marie Curie Cancer Care Trust. And they wanted to raise a little bit more money for charity. So they approached our students because they wanted to create a pop-up shop. Now that sounds a little bit changing rooms again, doesn't it? But what they actually did was that they designed a shop, they actually built all the things that were going to go inside it, they went to the empty unit that was going to be used and they set the shop up in there, and then they actually manned this shop as well. So they were actually helping a community and they were helping generate funds for this charity as well as learning about design in the process. So it was a very small project, something they didn't spend a lot of time on, but something that was very valuable to them. So finding emotional connection between things, services, and people is very important to what we do as designers. And that's something that really resonates with me, because you do need to understand people and these emotional connections that they have. And we're moving into other types of design now. We've got service design, designing for perhaps National Health Service, social services, transport services, design thinking, transformation design, design for sustainability is a big one, of course, experience design, and design for business. Something that we're very involved with the new V&A Dundee at the moment is developing a design for business program, because using design thinking and design processes within businesses can actually transform the way that they work and lead to them being more innovative and generating more money for the economy in the future as well. Also, artists and designers, another misconception that they all work in little isolated studios or a garret flat somewhere. No, more and more our students are working with communities. Artists are working in partnership with other people or part of collectives. And of course, our students are doing a lot of cross-disciplinary events nowadays. Things like this one that was held in the university, working with other students from other parts to bring all their knowledge together to create innovative new solutions to real problems. And of course, with new digital communications nowadays, we're not restricted to just working within Dundee or the UK. This was an example of the Global Design Service Jam, which took place, they take place fairly regularly. But students were actually working with people, other students, other designers, other communities all over the world, which was a fantastic experience for them and takes them out of their silos. So what we're trying to do is create innovative young thinkers, people who are going to be visionary in the future, who can take their skills out into the world and transform the world in the future. And these are the young creative thinkers who graduated last summer. Nothing is original. Steal from anywhere that resonates with inspiration or fuels your imagination. Devour films, music, books, paintings, photographs, poems, dreams, architecture, bridges, Street signs, trees, clouds, light and shadows. Select only things to steal from that speak directly to your soul. If you do this, your work and theft will be authentic. Authenticity is invaluable. Originality is non-existent. Myth or fact? I'll leave that with you. Thank you.